It must have been a long day today. This is a bedtime story channel, created to help you relax and unwind at the end of your day. I will read to you with care, so that you can drift off peacefully. I hope you'll keep this close by your bedside. This channel also faves more soothing stories to help you sleep. If you'd like to hear more before you doze off, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now, have a good sleep. The demon turned to stone. Once upon a time, a demon and his child lived deep in the mountains. One day, the demon was taking a walk with his child sitting on his shoulders, strolling down to the base of the mountain. As they walked, they saw an old man slowly approaching, holding the hand of a little girl. The old man sighed sadly and then put his hands together in prayer, looking up at the sky. Curious, the demon couldn't help but call out, "Old geezer, what are you doing?" Startled by the thunderous voice, the old man looked up to see the terrifying face of the demon looming above him. "Ah!" the old man gasped, almost collapsing in fear. The demon softened his voice and spoke gently, "Don't be afraid. Just tell me what you're doing." "Well," the old man began, "we live down by the beach, where everyone works by the sea. But every summer, the sea becomes rough, and many people on the beach lose their lives. This little girl's parents were taken by the big waves, leaving just the two of us alone. So, I was praying to the gods, asking them to calm the sea." "I see, that is truly unfortunate," said the demon kindly. One morning, some time later, the demon woke up to find a terrible storm raging outside. The demon remembered the old man and let out a growl as he stood up. The demon grabbed a rock as big as a small mountain, hugged it tightly, and with a mighty "hurry-up," lifted it up and threw it with a thunderous crash. He did the same with another giant rock, tossing it with a loud boom. Then, the demon took a long iron rod, made holes through both rocks, and skewered them like dumplings. He lifted the iron rod with the rocks on it and gently spoke to his child. "I'm going down to the beach. You stay here and wait for me." "No, no. I want to go too," cried the little demon. "All right, then climb on top of this rock," the demon said, holding back the strain in his back as he began to carry the rocks down the mountain, step by step. At the beach, enormous waves, like white fangs, were crashing down. The villagers clung desperately to their homes and rocks, trying not to be swept away. The demon said to his child, "Get down now. You stay here and wait for me." "No. I won't leave you," the little demon cried, refusing to get down. "All right, then don't cry," said the demon as he waded into the sea. The wild waves crashed against him, trying to pull him under. But the demon fought with all his strength to move forward. With the waves crashing over his head, the demon held the rocks high to keep his child from drowning. He walked further into the sea until he disappeared completely beneath the water. The waves, blocked by the demon's body in the rocks he held, began to calm down. Before long, the demon's body had turned to stone. "Dad," the little demon cried out, wailing on top of the rock. The little demon cried and cried until, exhausted, he too turned into a small rock. To this day, there are still 2 large rocks on the beach, with a small rock perched on top. The Wolf and the Rabbit. Once upon a time, in a wide meadow, there was a rabbit family's house. In this house lived a father rabbit, a mother rabbit, and their 3 little bunnies. One day, a hungry wolf came by and pounded on the door. "Bang, bang," the wolf shouted. "Hey, open up. If you don't, I'll break down this house." "What should we do, Mom?" the little bunnies cried, clinging to their mother. Then, the father rabbit said, "You all go with Mom and escape through the back door. I'll take care of the wolf." The father rabbit stepped outside and faced the wolf. "Hey, wolf! Look over here." Well, what a tasty-looking rabbit," the wolf grinned. "I'll eat you first." "Not so fast. If you want to eat me, you'll have to catch me first," the father rabbit replied. And so, the chase between the wolf and the rabbit began. Watching this, the little bunnies said, "At this rate, Dad is going to get eaten. We have to do something quickly." "I know. Let's help him. We'll jump out from different places to confuse the wolf." Their mother agreed right away. "Good idea. If one of you is about to get caught, another should jump out to distract the wolf." With their mother leading the way, the little bunnies ran after the wolf and their father. The father rabbit was running around a big tree, trying to escape, but he was getting very tired. Just then, the mother rabbit jumped out from the bushes and called out, "Hey, Mr. Wolf, over here." When the wolf saw her, he said, "All right, you're first," and started chasing after the mother rabbit. Just as the wolf was about to catch her, one of the little bunnies jumped out from the bushes and shouted, "Mr. Wolf, over here." "All right, now it's your turn," the wolf growled, and began chasing the little bunny. But just when the bunny was about to get caught, another little bunny jumped out. "Mr. Wolf, over here. Mr. Wolf, over here. Mr. Wolf, come over here." The wolf chased this bunny and that bunny, back and forth, until he was so tired he could barely stand. Then, the liveliest little bunny jumped out, but this time he did it slowly on purpose. "Mr. Wolf, I'm here." "All right, this one looks slow," thought the wolf, and with the last bit of strength he had, he chased after the little bunny. The bunny ran toward an old well and jumped over it. "You won't get away," the wolf snarled as he tried to jump over the well too, but he was so tired that he tripped and fell right into the well. "Help me! Help me! I can't swim," the wolf cried from inside the well. The father rabbit looked down at the wolf and said, "We'll help you, but do you promise never to bother the rabbits again?" "I promise. Just help me out of here." "Do you really promise?" "I really do." So, the rabbit family helped the wolf out of the well. And from that day on, the wolf kept his promise and never bothered the rabbits again. The Dragon Palace Bride. Once upon a time, there was a very poor young man who lived with his sick mother. One day, the young man decided to pick flowers in the mountains to sell in town, hoping to buy something delicious for his mother. But no matter how hard he tried, nobody wanted to buy his flowers. Oh, not a single one sold. "There's no point in taking these back home," he sighed. So, he threw the unsold flowers into the sea and said, "I'm sorry these are leftovers, but please accept them, O God of the Palace of the Dragon." Suddenly, a sea turtle appeared from the waves and said, "Your gift is accepted. In fact, the Palace of the Dragon has run out of flowers, and we've been in trouble. Come, let me take you to the Palace of the Dragon as a thank you." The sea turtle, carrying the surprised young man on its back, dove into the ocean and swam down to the Palace of the Dragon. On the way, the sea turtle spoke to the young man, "When it's time for you to leave, the Dragon King will ask you, 'What would you like as a souvenir?' When that happens, ask for the Dragon King's daughter as your wife. If you do, you will live a happy life." When they arrived at the Palace of the Dragon King, along with beautiful mermaids and fish, welcomed the young man with rare foods and drinks. It was like a dream, and before he knew it, 3 days had passed. "Excuse me, but I must go home now. I have a sick mother waiting for me in the village," the young man said. Just as the sea turtle had told him, the Dragon King asked, "Then I shall give you a parting gift. What would you like?" So, the young man did as the sea turtle had advised and said, "Please give me your daughter as my wife." "Very well. A kind-hearted young man like you deserves to marry my daughter," the Dragon King replied. And so, the Dragon King gave his daughter to the young man as his wife. When the young man returned home with his new wife, he found many villagers gathered around his house. "What's going on?" he asked. The neighbor replied in shock, "Where have you been for 3 years? Your mother just passed away a moment ago." 3 years. The 3 days spent in the palace of the dragon had been 3 years in the human world. The young man fell to his knees beside his mother's body and cried, "Mother, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault for not returning sooner." But then, the Dragon King's daughter, now his wife, took out a living whip, one of the treasures she had brought from the palace of the dragon, and said, "Don't cry. With this, your mother will come back to life." She gently struck the mother's body 3 times with the living whip. Amazingly, the mother came back to life, fully healed of her illness. Then, the Dragon King's daughter took out a mallet of luck from her bag and used it to transform their humble cottage into a grand mansion. Word of the Dragon King's daughter and her magical treasures soon reached the ears of the lord of the castle. A living whip that can bring people back to life and a mallet of luck that grants any wish. I want both those treasures and the Dragon King's daughter for myself, the Lord thought. So, the Lord gave the young man an impossible order: "Bring me 1,000 bags of rice by tomorrow. If you fail, you must give me your wife." The young man was in despair over the impossible task, but his wife, the Dragon King's daughter, smiled gently and said, "Don't worry. I'll have the 1,000 bags of rice sent from my father's palace." Sure enough, she arranged for the rice to be delivered from the palace of the dragon and presented it to the Lord. "Indeed, it is 1,000 bags of rice," the Lord said, astonished. But then he smirked and said, "You must be very wealthy. Tomorrow, I will come to your house with all my servants. Prepare a feast for everyone. If there isn't enough food and drink, you must give me your wife." The next day, the Lord disguised himself as a servant and made one of his servants dress in his clothes and lead the procession to the young man's house. The Lord thought, "If the young man mistakes my servant for me, I'll claim the Dragon King's daughter as my own." As the procession arrived, the young man's wife immediately noticed something strange about the supposed lord at the front. She approached the real lord, who was pretending to be a servant at the back of the line, and said, "Welcome, my lord. The feast for all your people is ready." Curses! She saw right through it, the Lord muttered to himself. But this only made him want her more, so he gave another order: "Now, gather 100 men and women and make them dance for me." "Yes, my lord," she replied. She opened a special box she had brought from the palace of the dragon, and out came 100 men and women who began to dance joyfully to the music of flutes and drums. "Indeed, there are 100 dancers," the Lord admitted. But then, growing bolder, he commanded, "Now, bring out 1,000 fierce warriors." The young woman looked at him with concern and asked, "Are you sure you want me to bring out 1,000 warriors?" "Do it. And if there are even one less than 1,000, you will be mine," the Lord demanded. "Very well, I will do as you ask," she said, opening the box again. This time, 1,000 fierce warriors emerged, and the leader of the warriors pointed at the Lord and shouted, "Look! The enemy leader is right here. Everyone, attack!" The Lord was terrified. He quickly gathered his servants and fled, never to return. Seeing this, the young woman smiled at her husband and said, "Now, my dear, you are the lord of this land. The old lord will never return. And so, the young man became the lord of the country, and he lived happily with his mother and his wife. The end.